Welcome to Erica Lynn Speaks. An inspirational, motivational conversation designed specifically to help you move forward. And now, here's Erica Lynn.
Welcome. This is your girl, Erica Lynn. I'm back to another wonderful episode of Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. Y'all know we like to play big or go home. Today, we're going to be talking about how a survivor finds what's next. Every day, countless individuals navigate the difficult, often silent path away from abuse. The journey out of immediate danger is one step, but discovering what comes after that is an entirely different story. How do you rebuild a life when the foundation has been shaken? Well, we're going to talk about that today on Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. But before we get into that, y'all know I want y'all to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Go on over to YouTube. Y'all know I've been trying to build that YouTube channel. Go on and follow me on YouTube because we got all the other social medias down packed, right? Because I appreciate all the love and support from my virtual audience, because without you guys, man, we couldn't grow to the level that God has taken us. But before we bring on my guest, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor. So this episode was brought to you by
Experience the difference with Executive Transportation Services Network, your trusted leader in luxury ground transportations and concierge services. Our award-winning team delivers safe, reliable, and professional services every time. Call 734-770-8990. Choose Executive Transportation Services Network, where excellence rides with you.
Awesome. And we're back. So today, I am honored to speak with a true powerhouse in advocacy and healing. She is a minister, an author, and executive director of Sisters Against Abuse Society, known as SAS, an agency that has secured millions in funding to provide culturally specific support for Black and African American victims of sexual and domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and human trafficking. With over 20 years of experience, she brings compassion, expertise, and a powerful message of hope. In this conversation, we will explore the practical and emotional steps survivors can take to build a safety plan, find their voice, and ultimately discover what's next. So let's just dive right in and welcome my special guest, Dr. Ladonna Combs-Spight.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Erica.
Thank you so much.
To be here.
I'm so glad that you came because it's been a long time coming. Yes, and you rocking it today. Okay, I'm just loving this old burger. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. It's comfortable. Comfortable.
Fine as always. Comfortable. Okay.
Thank you.
So, but we're so excited because many people are watching us from all over. And I know in America, a lot of states have gotten hit with snow, but it's cold and it's snow. The ground is bad. So thank you for drudging through this bad weather to come join us on this podcast.
Wouldn't have missed it. So honored to be here. We've been excited about coming.
Yes. I'm excited. And we welcome your guests for joining us today.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining.
Yes.
So we're just going to jump right into it.
Okay.
Dr. Combs-Spight, before founding the Sisters Against Abuse Society, known as SAS, your career path began in academia, teaching business management at Spring Arbor University. What was the defining moment or core inspiration that shifted your focus from business education to becoming a dedicated violence prevention expert and advocate for survivors?
Yeah, thank you for asking. You know what? I'm thinking about the timeline, actually. So I'm a survivor myself, and so being a survivor, and didn't really even know anything about domestic violence. I grew up in a 2-parent household. My dad was amazing. He taught me how to tie my shoe, write my name, ride a bike, fly a kite, drive a car. He just, he was present. So I had no idea what domestic violence was. So I was a survivor, but I was also a faith-based survivor, because I met my batterer in church.
Okay.
And so there were just a lot of things that were hushed up, and people didn't talk about it in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, they didn't think it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, they weren't trauma informed enough around violence prevention to know what to do if it was exposed. But most of the onus at the time were put on women to keep the family together, to be more spiritual, to honor your marriage. And at the time, which is what my master's thesis was about, after I had got out of that marriage, does till death do us part include domestic violence? So that was something that I had wrote about as a thesis. It is, does it include domestic violence? And so as I got delved more into the research, I learned domestic violence is not a marital problem, it's a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, it made me want to reach out and do more for Black and brown women who was experiencing that, because we're disproportionately affected by domestic violence.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we don't have anybody to talk to, or, you don't know where to go,
Mm-hmm.
so there's not very many resources. And sometimes African Americans don't necessarily fit into that box that they put out for other cultures and other nationalities. Because sometimes we just need different things, and I get it. So, but I'm glad that you are now an advocate for individuals. I'm glad that you're out of that domestic violence situation. I always say that sometimes God takes us through things so that we can help other people. Like, it sucks that we went through it, but then we have a testimony, because a lot of people say, how can you help me do something if you haven't been through it yourself? And so you don't get that now from the ladies, right? Because you're like, look, I've been there where you was at. And if I can come through it, you can too. It's going to be rough, but you can get through it.
Right. Well, survivors, women going through, they know when they're talking to somebody that can't, empathize with them. They know when they're talking to somebody who may be othering them. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, this happened to you. You know what I'm saying? And so in those dynamics, sometimes, women, especially women of color, can feel like they can feel othered. They can feel like, well, there's a cookie cutter approach. And, even with the church, well, what did you do to, have this happen? What did you do? When violence is not something, especially in an intimate partner relationship, that can be provoked, it's a choice. It's about power and control. One person has it, one person doesn't. And, the church historically has been a place that communities of color go to first. They reach out for resources, for social services, for counseling, for spiritual guidance, for prayer. And historically, it's been a civil rights organization. The Black church has tackled civil rights, human rights, voting rights, all types of things. So, but the rights of gender-based crimes are the rights of a woman. Because of the patriarchy, she's more subdued and supposed to be a little more obedient. And, so the question was, well, what did you do? But that in itself is not the question. The question is not, what did she do? Is why is he hitting her?
Right.
Why is she so unsafe at home?
Right.
And traditionally, when a woman of color goes out in the mainstream agencies for help, there's a cookie cutter approach, or there's a one size fits all, and that doesn't fit for her. There's so many things. I used to be the director of the domestic violence program in the Aware shelter in Jackson, Michigan. It was 26-bed shelter. And some of the things like the food, or, products for a Black woman's hair that's in the shelter, when you're more in a rural shelter. I mean, just didn't fit. The way she disciplined her children might have been different. And
Absolutely.
It was just...
not to mention the comb and brush that they give you, because, they give you the brush with the whisk, the what we call the wig brush, but we can't use those. We can, but traditionally we need a bristle.
Well, not only that, there are women who had CPS called on them for pressing their daughter's hair. That's a historical thing in the Black community. It's like, what are you doing? Or curling your hair with a hot curler. They couldn't relate to that. And children that young, where we were braiding hair and straightening hair, and it's something that we do. And so it made it culturally difficult for them. So for many things, and, unfortunately, Black women are viewed, do you have any place else to go? You don't have anything else, don't you have somebody to help you? Whereas a white woman is, well, what can we do to help her?
Yeah.
A Black woman is like, well, what, and the way she postures herself, she's viewed as being an angry Black woman, or she's viewed as being contentious and confrontational. And that's not it at all. She has layers of barriers from being marginalized by the system when she asks for help.
Absolutely.
So she chooses to turn, and I might as well go back home and deal with this.
Right. Yeah. And opposed to, I don't want to deal with y'all. I'd rather just deal with what's at home. At least I know what's coming. At home, I don't know what's coming from you all.
Right. She's more likely to have CPS come and take her children away. Instead of being given supports to help her, but a victim, a survivor of domestic violence, is an expert in their own relationship. So they know their batterer and their situation better than anybody else. So we should just walk alongside her and be a support.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree. So we can jump in a little bit to the journey to healing. So our episode title is How a Survivor Finds What's Next. When a survivor leaves an abusive situation, the immediate danger might be gone, but the emotional journey is just the beginning. What are some of the first small steps that someone can take to start their healing process?
Well, I thought about that, and I came up with a couple of things, and I had a conversation with someone, and she said, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught.
Okay.
And so people can talk to you about different things, but you have to come to the realization of what you need for yourself and how you comprehend your own next step. And so one of the things that I recommend a lot of times when we're doing, when my staff over here is doing active listening and support, is that you have to let the survivor know it's not your fault. There's nothing you could have done to prevent, what was happening to you. So a lot of them feel, guilty. Many times they feel like, because a lot of times, most times women, they love these men. If we're talking about, women, they love them. And so the fact that they had to leave in the first place was not their first choice. And even when they call the police, they really don't necessarily want the batterer to go to jail. They just want the violence to stop.
Yes.
So once she gets to the point where now she's out, there's nothing she can do. The first thing she has to do is come to herself and get to a quiet place and get to a self-awareness and find out what's next, because what's next will depend on how much support she has to move to the next step.
Yes.
What kind of help does she have with her children? What type of supports does she have economically? She has to kind of try to study herself and just kind of heal. Many times it takes a minute, even when a woman's in a shelter and she's out of the relationship. She's been surviving the domestic violence so long that she really hasn't even had a chance to parent. And many times when women come to the shelter, the kids are running around and they're doing this and you're thinking, excuse me, why is she not paying attention to her kids? Because she's in an environment now where she's healing and she can come to herself, and now she can start parenting because most of her parenting is trying to make sure that she's safe in the home and that the kids are safe.
Right.
So she's managing that. So there's a self-awareness at first. There's a self-awareness that she needs to come to herself and just kind of be quiet and find out, what is it that she wants. She needs to reflect on her purpose, her values. What are her values? Concerning herself first.
Yes.
Because she's always been walking on eggshells or worrying about, not provoking another fight. But that's the myth about domestic violence. There's nothing she can do not to be hit again. Because once she gets hit once, she's going to get hit again.
Right. Now, let me ask you, I know we're talking about physical domestic violence, but what is your stance on verbal abuse, right? Because to me, verbal abuse is just as bad, because it took me years to come up out of that thing, right? It was so bad that my self-esteem was very low. And I, like, some days I didn't know if I was coming or going, and I just fought because I was like, I know I ain't crazy, like, you know what I mean? And he might not necessarily, like, we did have physical at some, early on, but then I fought back. Then at some point I just got tired of fighting. I got tired of fighting, and I stayed as long as I did because I had a bonus father. And when I got pregnant with our first child, he said, "You're going to be a statistic. You're going to have all these different baby daddies, and you're just going to," like, he just really nailed it. And so because of that, I stayed for 10 years.
To prove him wrong.
We had 3 children together, but I stayed because I was like, I am not going to be a statistic. I am not going to have more than one father of my child. And I dealt with a lot because I didn't want to break up the family. But when I got out of that thing, I just remember jumping up and down in the middle of the street, hollering and screaming like a fool. I was like, I gotta go. If I don't go now, these kids won't have no type of life, because what am I teaching them? That this is okay. And so can you just speak to a little bit about verbal abuse?
Have you ever seen the Power and Control wheel?
No.
Yvonne, can you give me the Power and Control wheel out of my bag? It's in the envelope. So this is this is a wheel that tells you everything he's going to do to you emotionally before he hits you. It's based on the research out of Duluth, Minnesota, another university that I was a visiting professor in for a couple of years, with Dr. Oliver Williams, who was the head of the social work department. And this is a Power and Control wheel. And what this is, it's everything that has been literature and studies has proved that is going to be said or done before the actual initial incidents of violence. And the only reason they do this is because emotional abuse can't be prosecuted per se. So the outside of the wheel has, violence, it has domestic violence, and then it has sexual assault as well. And that is what you can, go to jail for. But he can't go to jail for being calling you the B word. Or telling you you're awful mother. Or telling you, I wish you would gain some weight. You look like a bone, or I wish you would, or some things like that. So when you talk about in that wheel, there's coercion and threats, intimidation, emotional abuse. They isolate you, because when they can isolate you from your support system, then it's easier, whether it's from your friends, your family, co-workers, even using your phone. I've seen situations where when the phone rings, even if it's her phone, he has to answer it. He has to answer all the phones in the house. She's not allowed to have a voice. On her job, minimizing, denying, and blaming. And those things are like, where you tell the person, why do you do this to me all the time? I never did that. Even if he hits you, I didn't hit you. And you fall, you fell, you tripped. Things like that. Using the children. They do that. That's emotional abuse. And economic abuse, which is, keeping you from earning, or telling you don't need to work. I'll take good care of you. Or, I don't want you to go to work, or who is that you're talking to at work, or, who do you think you are at work? Those type of things. And then male privilege, which sometimes is used, which mostly is used in other cultures, where the house is in their name, the car is in their name, everything is in their name. And sometimes the woman, English is her second language.
Okay.
She's not allowed to go out and socialize, or male privilege, the patriarchy, even that's in the Black church. Whereas, you know, the woman is supposed to be that. But emotional abuse, because we are emotional creatures, we spend a lot of time trying to make things right, trying to prove to them that we love them. We support you. You don't have to worry about me doing this. You don't have to worry about me doing, I would never leave you, and I would never, and I want our home to stay together. But it's never going to be enough for the person who has power and control issues, because you always, number one, you look like a flight risk all the time. Right.
But let me say this. So it brings out different outcomes in different people, right?
Yeah.
So it made me very passive. I was a very passive person, whereas I've met other people who were victims of verbal abuse, and they gonna fight. They gonna like they gonna throw down. You ain't gonna tell me what to do. You're not gonna, you know what I mean? And I became very passive, and I still see some of those traits to this day, in the sense that I'm aiming to please. I want to make sure that, you know, he's pleased, that he's happy. Although I'm not in those situations, and you know, I
where you acquiesce.
Love.
You want to acquiesce to keep from the confrontation.
Yes, I can't stand confrontation.
Yeah. So you just acquiesce because you want that to pass. You're like, well, we're not going to stay there because that's not an issue. So why are we arguing about that? So you acquiesce, and it just makes you. Sometimes when you argue, it turns into something else, and then that turns into something, and it gets bigger and bigger, and then what happens?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And every victim. So the batterer is the abuser always uses the same tactics. So when you say you're different, it's the victim that responds differently. So everybody's lived experience within a domestic violence relationship, for the most part, is different.
Yes.
It is. And so, and that's what researchers call phenomenological, because people respond to their lived experiences and their interpretation of the lived. Well, wasn't that bad? He only hits me during Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Or he only hits me during, you know, the Olympics, or we only get into it around the car show. When the car show comes, he only hits me once a year. And a lot of people don't feel like that's domestic violence. Well, he only hit me one time, but it is domestic violence.
Yeah,
you know. So people's lived experiences around and it also matters how you grew up.
Yeah.
You know, because if violence was normalized in your home, then you just feel like, until you get a little older and start talking to other people and having other relationships in your older life, you don't realize that everybody didn't socialize like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so it takes healing for the emotional abuse. Sometimes you have to unlearn behaviors that were learned to survive, because it wasn't like you were passive. You were just surviving.
And then I had to give myself grace. It took years for me to learn this. So it's going to take some time for me to unlearn it, right? So I really, truly had to go through my healing journey, as from hitting rock bottom to coming back. But and it didn't happen until my early 40s that I really, truly went through my healing journey. And it didn't happen overnight. It was, you know, a process. And so I always say to women, give yourself grace and just continue to keep going through that process, because when you get there, you're going to know. And the best thing for you to do is to go through your healing journey, because if you don't, it's going to like repeat itself. And like you said, in my mannerisms and things like that. And so when God do send you that healthy relationship and that man that's good to you, then you don't know how to receive it, because you're going to bring some of those.
Well, you won't trust it.
Yes.
You won't trust it. And so what you have to do also is you have to make little steps and little journeys to take back your power, you know, and you have to make sure that you hear what you have to do more listening than talking, because you have to listen, because people are going to tell you, especially grown-ups, exactly who they are.
And you got to believe them.
And if they don't tell you, they're going to show you. And the thing you have to do is give people time to show you. because, most batterers actually, let's say you don't even know the person, never been in a relationship. They're very hypersensitive. They want to hurry up and be in a relationship. They want to hurry up and get married. They want to hurry up and have a baby. They want to hurry up because they can't behave that way for long. They can't be, because that's not who they are.
That's a good one, because they always say that a representative anybody can only put their representative on
for so long.
Yeah. And the average person can do it for about a year. And after that year, man, whoever they truly are is going to come out at some point.
For a batter, it's going to come out a little sooner, but it'd be more subtle. Like, oh, you always go over here with your friends from the church. I miss you when you're gone. I feel like, you don't have enough time for me, or maybe I'm just not as important enough to you. Can you spend more time with me? Or, you and your daughter go shopping all the time, or you and your mother go shopping all the time. I don't think your mom likes me. I don't think she likes me. I mean, when we get together and you go play, she looks at me funny. She didn't really want to invite me over that time. And I want to do more for her to like me. But the more, and they'll acquiesce a little bit, but they'll plant seeds, not, and then so you don't have to deal with that. You stop going over your mother's house so much. So you don't have to deal with that conversation. You stop being with your friends so much, because after all, he is my husband.
Yes.
He does come first. Yeah. I am, we are one, and so it's very gradual. And then before you know it, that all those little shoves and emotional pushes, you're in a corner, shoved up in the corner. You don't even know when you got there.
Wow. Because you know what? And it's that you said that, I'm sure a lot of people have left relationships and they looked up and they was like, dang, I don't even see my friends anymore, or I don't spend as much time with my family. And I used to be with my family all the time. I get that you're supposed to give up not give it up, but like dial back a little bit to balance the time, but not totally give up everything and everybody for your relationship, because he's still doing his thing.
Well, you get in a relationship and you have your priorities when you get married, but you also have to have your own alliance to yourself and be yourself. You also have to know there's enough of you for him, and there's enough of you to be independent of him and to do some of the things absent from him. Yeah. And he should want you to do those things. Yeah. If he's got a problem, if he got to follow you to the store, you home and you haven't been home in 3 hours, he got to jump in the car, go find you, or he can't, you can't trust me to go around the corner. You can't trust me to go to, on a weekend, a girls trip. Yeah. And who has time to follow somebody like that when they have their own lives and they have their own purpose and they're bringing all this to the table? If you don't even want to be with if you thought that about me, why do you want to be with me?
Yeah. Right.
What do you want? I mean, really? So there's a way, to be to have priorities, and then there's a way that, because if you don't, you lose yourself. After you get finished doing that, you begin to lose yourself. And after you've been in it for 5 years, 10 years, and then you wake up and you realize what's happened or what you gave up or the time that's lost, because time is like an elevator that goes up but doesn't come back down. It just keeps going up. And so, and then you're like, how did I get here? And then you've isolated from all your friends. And then once you do that, by the time you tell somebody, well, he was mistreating me, he was beating me, many times they won't believe you because, well, you look happy. What do you mean? And sometimes the batter is very charismatic. They have very good position in the community, in the church. And the minute you say something, it's like,
not Mr. Williams.
Right. What do you mean? Right. And because you're so good at masking the abuse and the pain, so you can keep, society thinking and keeping your marriage together. And so you could prove a point, whether you're proving it to your mom or your dad or to your friends. I can be married. I can stay married. I'm not going to give up on this relationship. This must be something I'm doing, to make this so difficult. And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. So what roles does the community and support play in recovery? Are there specific types of support, like, the ministry, professional counseling, peer groups? What have you seen that works best?
I think what works best actually is what SAS does, and that's supportive group counseling in a group and individual counseling. Because even if you go to a therapist is talking to you about cognitive behavior therapy, or that's talking about family counseling and different things, they still are not many times trained in the phenomenological behaviors of the lived experience of domestic violence. They know about it, but they don't understand what gender-based crime is. They'll tell you, and because couples counseling is out. You cannot do couples counseling once domestic violence has been identified. And many pastors don't know that. Many family counselors don't know that, because you're coming in there to tell them what he's been doing to you, but now you're leaving out with that person, and you've exposed him.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And now you got to go home. And you're going to pay. You maybe look like an idiot. You maybe look like a fool. You think I'm going to use my insurance. You think I'm going to pay to be made look like a fool. And this family, and we going, so many times for healing, you come to a support group, a domestic violence support group, especially a culture specific one like we do, and there's no judgment. And even if you sit there long enough, because you feel isolated and you feel like nobody's going through this but me, you're going to hear your story. Sooner or later, somebody going to say exactly what happened to you. They're going to say exactly what they've been going through. And then we've had people come to the group that sat there for a whole year, never said nothing. Just show up, sign in, sign out, until one day somebody came and said something, you couldn't shut them up. They felt isolated even sitting there until they heard their story.
Yeah.
And then you're not judging them for how they stayed. You're not judging them for what happened. You're not judging them for going back. You're not judging them for getting a divorce. You're not judging them for having 2 or 3 or 4 partners because they're broken in other areas of their life, and they're just looking for love.
Yes.
And they don't even know that themselves. So they suffer from rejection, and if somebody rejects you, and this is what I've, to a lot of young girls and a lot of women, when they get into a relationship and the person, doesn't like them or whatever, man's rejection is God's protection.
Yes.
There's something about you, something, don't even question it. Say thank you, God, because they had enough of whatever just to walk away. Because you don't want to be the one. You don't want to be their test pilot for whatever stuff they got going on.
Absolutely.
And so that just wasn't for you.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, that's interesting. I like that. So we're going to talk about some empowerment steps.
Okay.
So a crucial step is developing a safety plan. Can you walk listeners through some key components of a basic safety plan that they can start creating today, even discreetly?
So there are different kind of safety plans. There's safety plans if you are not ready to leave.
Okay.
And then there's safety plans when you are leaving. And the reason a safety plan is so important is because 75% of African American women are killed after they leave, not if they stay.
Okay.
And so you have to have a safety plan. And so if you're leaving, you have to have a plan to leave, and you can't. And we tell people too, who know somebody that's in a domestic violence relationship, girl, you need to leave him. You just need to leave. Why you still keep going? No, she needs a plan first. And those plans come with, informing yourself about what she does need to leave. So where is she going? Where is she going? She has to find a place to go. And what many women who have children who need to leave their community don't know is that way back in the day, President Bush, when he enacted No Child Left Behind, enacted a line item called the McKinney-Vento Act.
Okay.
So the McKinney-Vento Act is if you have to leave your community because your life is threatened and you're a batterer, the school your kids go to has to send transportation to get them, to bring them to school every day, free.
Oh, wow.
So they are not interrupted in their everyday life. And a lot of survivors don't know that. So you need a place to go that's safe. Sometimes it's a shelter. Sometimes if you want to go to a friend's house or that you trust, but that's where the victim is an expert because they know what they need to do so far as a safety plan.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. When a woman gets ready to leave, if she's going to leave, she needs her kids' birth certificates. You need their shot records. You need their social security cards. You need some money put up. You need to be able to know. You need a backpack somewhere, and you also need somebody. You need a code word. You need to teach your kids code words when it's safe. We're going, and if the plan get hinders, if you say railroad, it's off.
Yeah.
And teach them that that's secretive. And then if the woman's not ready to leave, many times she needs to know that the most dangerous places in her home where women are killed at are the bathroom and the kitchen. That's where most of the injuries, the more severe injuries, happen in a domestic violence relationship.
Why is that? Right.
Well, there are things in the kitchen that are dangerous,
Right.
and there are things in the bathroom that are dangerous.
Okay.
Like the toilet, like the sink.
Mm-hmm.
If she falls, if he's going to push her in the tub, if he's going to, those are the rooms that women generally can be killed in.
Okay.
So she needs to know. And then if she's got a safety plan and she's got her kids, they need to be able to know where to go to hide, or don't interrupt mommy and daddy when we're fighting. Don't jump between us. Don't worry about it. It's going to be all right. Teach your children how to respond, especially if they're like, little kids, 7, 8, 9. And most women eventually do leave because of the kids, because as they get older, they will try to intervene. They will try to save mom. Somebody is going to, especially if you got those boys that are growing up.
Yeah.
And so that's part of a safety plan. It needs to be written out. And it needs to be written out for the kids. If I call you at school and say Bluebird, that means you call Auntie Maddie to come pick you up from school. And you need to let other people know that you're in a situation and you're making arrangements to get out, but I need some support so I can stay out. So this is my safety plan for that.
Okay.
And so and many agencies, domestic violence agencies, also can help you with a safety plan.
Okay.
This is, and it needs to be written out, and it can be changed at any time.
Yeah.
But safety plan is very important if you're going to leave, because like I said, lethality raises up close to 80% after she's gone, because you're stalked. They stalk you.
Yeah.
And then they kill you.
Yeah, because like a lot of women, they don't have access to the agency. And so perhaps somebody is listening to the podcast and hearing the resources that we're going to provide in the description after the podcast is over. And while we're talking, my team is putting it up on the screen, the resources that you provided for us today. And I felt that it was important for us to do this podcast because a lot of people are suffering in silence and not saying anything. And like you said, they look regular. We never even know that anything is going on in their home. But I just want people to know that there is resources available to them. And if you don't have access to go and talk to the local SAS program, for example, these are some steps that you can follow without even talking to someone, so that you know that when you do get out, we have some resources available to you and some people that'll help you. So I appreciate you for that. But then I just kind of want to dive into, you've helped many individuals with economic empowerment and grant funds. How important is financial independence to a survivor's ability to truly move forward?
Well, financial independence, it looks different for different people. So that's the reason it's funny that's the case. The statistics come from social services, and it would seem like women of color need more supports from social services and what have you. And that's another thing that makes it seems like they have a higher victimization rate. When white women really have a high victimization rate too, but they have more resources than many times. They can get on a plane, they can get a hotel, many times they have that, whereas many women of color, and women of color do, but there are a lot of them that don't. And so financial independence is very, very important. I'm gonna tell you this story about this one person. She was teaching at Michigan State. So she was with a batterer up in rural Michigan. She was a white gal. and her husband controlled all the money, and he beat her all the time. So she had all these girls. They had 4 little girls, and they lived in the rural part. And she finally had a boy, and they put the little baby on her chest. And I'm repeating her story. And he leaned down. She thought he would be happy, and he leaned down and he told her, "Wow, look at you, got 5 kids now. Nobody's going to want your dirty behind. Now you got 5." And so she was just, she actually didn't know what to do. She said this was a hopeless situation until he would regulate the food in the house. So he would give her a check, and she would have to write how much, groceries she spent. She accidentally wrote the check for several dollars over and took it to the cashier, and the woman gave her cash back. And she was like, "You mean if I write a check and I can have money and you give me cash back?" Yeah, that's how we do it. So she started writing her checks, but he knew every place. So she would buy tampons, pull the tampon out, scroll the money up and put it back in the tube and put it underneath the sink. And so she did that for 2 years. She had enough money to get on a plane, take all her kids, and she finally left him.
Wow.
And now she's a professor at Michigan State.
Wow.
And she tells that story. So financial independence is very, very important.
Yes.
Very important. But what does it look like for you? How financially dependent are you on the person? Like you said, it depends on what type of fighter you are. Some people will get a divorce and you got to pay me alimony. Some people are afraid to even deal with the batterer in divorce. And that's where it comes into personal protection orders. I have some clients that have lifetime personal protection orders. I have some clients that have been shot multiple times by their batterer that are on their 11th surgery from this, and they have lifetime. And so actually Dana Nessel, who, is our attorney general, has a program that's almost like the witness protection program where women can go in and they change your name on your light bill. They change it on your mortgage. You become totally anonymous, and so then that gives you a little freedom, to try to live your life. But your financial status, it depends on where you are in life and how you got there and where you're trying to go. Because many times if you got little kids, daycare is a lot. And there's so many barriers that keep women in these situations. And I often tell women when they get, and I mean, I can't tell women what to do. I mean, they have to make their own decision, and I just make suggestions. But when you get a place and you come to the shelter, let's say you left, you're the shelter, you're safe now, you and your kids, and then you get into transitional housing. Don't let somebody in there with you. You know what I'm saying? You can have a life. You just don't need to move somebody in, because a lot of times those women do that, and they end up getting kicked out
of the transitional housing.
And many times the man stays. So they just took your dwelling. Forget about from you, but from your children. Now you got to start all over again. And so you have to really, really, really think about your self-awareness. You got to be able to put yourself first. You're broken, and sometimes, you don't need to start another relationship with somebody because they know you're broken too.
Absolutely.
They know you're broken. And so they see all those weaknesses, and then they can manipulate too. Oh, wow. I can help you do this. I can help you do that. I can be there for you for this, and I can help you do that. And I would never do that to you. But where's your stuff at? This is my stuff. Why don't you have a place to stay? And so,
that's a red flag for me.
Right.
To meet a grown man and he don't have a place to stay. That's
or he stays with his mother. Now he stays with his mother. His mother don't stay with him. It's
well, that's what they say though. She stays with me. But you don't find out the truth until.
But that's why you got to do some digging. Number one, you have to be tired enough and afraid enough and protective enough of your children. To do some digging, like, where do you live? What do you do? How long have you been there? And when somebody's telling you, oh, I do construction, really, for how long? Do you own the company?
Or you gotta have a best friend like I did. So before I even knew really about Googling, my friend, she been Googling guys that I dated for a long time. She want to know, let me see your driver's license. Like when we were teenagers growing up, her mom would make the guy bring his driver's license and those, and she would take a picture of the license plate. And so she's just always been that way. She started Googling and researching. Well, make sure you're not a killer. Started finding out about your past. Then when social media came up, she really researched it. Oh, he got a wife, or he got, you know what I mean?
You almost need to see the registration on the car.
Yes.
Whose car is this?
Yes.
Is this your girlfriend's car? Is this your wife's car? This car is in another woman's name? Because not so much that you being hyper vigilant, but you also don't want to be in a situation where you with somebody and somebody walk up to you. What are you doing with my husband?
Yes.
What do you do? Are you somewhere at a place having a wonderful place to stay, and somebody walk up to him and slap him or slap you?
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out what happened? What is going on here?
Yeah. It ain't funny, but
and they do that.
Yeah.
And then shut. What are you doing here? So and so. Why are you with her? Why? And at that point, what you gonna do? You're going to have to get your coat and do that one finger and get out because you didn't know. So you have to. But like I said, people, men and women, will tell you who they are if you give them enough time. You have to be healed, and you have to be self-aware enough to know, I deserve to know that.
Yes.
You have to know, I deserve to be taken care of.
Yes.
I deserve not to give you my check.
Yes.
I deserve not to. I'm a woman.
Yes.
I'm still a woman. I'm not a man.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be, and there are traditional roles, and we're supposed to be equal, and but I can't pick up the back of a car.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
I can't. So, I'm the one that 50-50 thing doesn't work because, what 50% are you going to carry the baby?
Yeah.
How much of the delivery you going to do?
Right.
Okay. None. Yeah, we can do 50%. How? Because how is that 50-50? I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, what I want people to know is what practical resources does SAS have? What all do you do in regards to helping individuals?
So we're a grant funded agency, and we had more grant funding. But we have a new administration, and this new administration does not like the word sexual assault. It does not like, as Black and brown women, you're considered DEI.
Okay.
And so they get rid of DEI.
Okay.
And they don't view you as being vulnerable enough to need those things. And so what we did do is we give specific assistance, like we helped with first month's rent and down payment. We help with water bills and light bills and car repairs and different things like that. Now, of course, when you have that pot of money, when you're dealing with a vulnerable population and a marginalized population like the city of Detroit, a lot of those resources get taken up really, really fast.
Right.
And so then we have to wait around to our next funding cycle.
Okay.
But the resources we do supportive group counseling, and we do individual counseling, and we do shelter resources. So we're partnered with some really good shelters.
Okay.
So when women are involuntarily displaced by violence and they call us, we're not a shelter, but we have a way, of getting them to a shelter. And there are resources in Detroit like CAM. And then out Wayne is like HARA, where you have to put your name in those resources, and then they pull your name out. Well, of course, like I said, there are thousands. There's not enough housing, emergency housing for crisis women who are involuntarily displaced. So you have to have a certain thing going on when you start talking about I'm homeless. If you're sofa surfing, which means if you're at your grandma's on the sofa or your girlfriend's on the sofa, many times a lot of these agencies don't consider you homeless. So you have to watch some of the things that you say.
Yeah.
Some agencies, if you living in your car, you're not homeless.
Oh, wow.
You got a place to stay that's dry.
Yeah.
So, there are things that women, have to learn how to advocate for themselves. And the reason it's like that is because there's so few spaces. Now we got to try to figure out, what does homeless really look like?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it gets to some really ridiculous things.
Yeah.
You know, and so we do that. We help with personal protection orders. We do felony expungements. Many women who have felonies and who end up in prison, it's because of a man. they're helping somebody do something,
Yeah.
or they end up going to jail or being arrested because of reactionary violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's been here, you're not getting ready to hit me again.
Right.
And she ends up so they look at, especially women of color, they look at you more as an angry Black woman, they look at you as more contentious, more demonstrative, and so you are more provoking and menacing, than a white woman. But that's not the case at all. There's layers of trauma, and she's defending herself.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Because the Black community does not trust calling the police for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So we try to help with personal protection orders, which are really good. And unfortunately, or fortunately, personal protection orders are good, but they're only as good as the batterer's fear of the law.
Okay.
Because you have some men, had a personal protection order, he balled that up right in your head. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't care. But continue to do it, because we've had a couple of unfortunate incidents where the batterer was killed by the victim. But it was after she had filed so many personal protection orders and went to the house so much, went to the hospital and other things. So she had a paper trail of the torture and the domestic terrorism happening to her body, happening to her children, happening to their family. So in those cases, if you get a good judge that understands, and a lot of judges do, you're safer. Than not, where he's been beating you for 10 years.
Right, but you have to report it. You have to have some type of...
And you finally respond, and you never said he was violent. No, you just killed somebody.
Right.
So you need a paper trail.
Yeah. So before I move to our closing question, do we have any questions from the virtual audience? And normally we do questions from the virtual audience probably about 10 minutes ago, but you're passing such amazing gems, because the podcast is only an hour, and so we're over at 8. That's why my team made me get the big clock so we can. So she's going to ask you the questions from the virtual audience, and so we kind of want to move quickly so that we can.
Sure.
Oh, you got 2? Okay, go ahead. Okay, you picked 2. Awesome.
All right. So this question is: does this cycle happen in alternative scenarios, meaning a male is the victim and a woman the abuser? Have many men been killed in such a scenario?
Women can be batterers too. Men are victims. I've had men go to court with me. One was almost 7 feet tall. We went to court, and he was the victim. So yes, men can be victims in a cycle of abuse. All men don't hit. All men don't hit. And so they can be victims, and they are entitled to the same resources that a woman is entitled to. And we do have male survivors. So yes. Yep. What was the second part of that particular question?
Have many men been killed in such a scenario?
Oh yeah. Yep, they have. There's always lethality when there's violence, or more women are killed, unfortunately. Black women only make up 8% of the in the United States, but they 22% of the homicides from domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, any type of violence can lead to lethality, including men. Yes, men are killed.
Yes. Okay.
The next question is: what advice would you offer young women growing up in a very vulgar world where they are, in a way, finding abuse cute? Music videos idolize a man acting crazy for you, making it seem as a cute thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, social media, can be friend or foe, which can shape things like that. I think it's very important for young girls to understand that they need boundaries. They really need boundaries. If you have boundaries, you have a clear head around who you are. It's never cute to be called out of your name, or to generalize menacing behavior that whether it's sexual harassment, look at her behind, look at her, you're young for that, or look at, or some of these videos where, women are gladly exposed and everything. I think what women need to know is that you're treated by a man the way he perceives you. And if he perceives you as being a toy, and he perceives you as being something that he doesn't have to respect, then that's the way you're going to be treated. And it's never cute to be shamed or embarrassed about who you are as a girl growing up. And so it's good. And it's good to have mentors, to get some really good mentors. So to teach you what your boundaries should be. And they should come from what makes you feel, non-exploited.
Wow, that's good. That's good. So the other questions that you have, what I would like for you to do after the podcast is over, we're going to answer those in the afterglow. So we do an afterglow session.
Okay.
And so she'll be able to answer those. But I want to know, in one sentence, what is your ultimate message of hope for someone listening right now who feels completely lost?
The Bible says you're fearfully and wonderfully made, in Psalms. There's always hope. If you wake up, there's hope. If you change your mind, there's hope. And if you get good support, there's always hope.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So tell everyone how they can reach you.
Okay. Well, you can call the Sisters Against Abuse Society. I think I gave Miss Erica a couple of, I gave her our Instagram, our email, and our website. And you can call us as well at area code 313-543-6152. Someone will return your call within 24 hours. You can email me at thepreventionsister22@yahoo.com. And that goes for people who want to do things in domestic violence. Maybe you want to start your own grassroots agency. Maybe you want to be a help. We do grant writing classes, and we teach you how to write a federal grant. And I've written about $5 million worth of grants, acquired that money, and spoken in Washington about 2 or 3 times about that, been called there. And so you are your best advocate, and you are a powerhouse, and you can do whatever you put your mind to if you want to do violence prevention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Yes. Okay. I hope somebody walked away with something today, and they understand what their next steps is. And because the whole premise of this podcast is discovering what's next in your life.
Yes.
And so there's all type of scenarios that we're going to go through in situations. But what's next after that? How do you move forward after you experience domestic violence and sexual abuse? And, how do you move past the shame and the hurt? And you gave these women, this audience, some things to look forward to and know that there is life after.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you
Absolutely.
so
You're
much.
welcome.
So
Thank you
much
for having me.
Yes, yes. And so we're going to get ready to get out of here. And that brings this show to the end. It was such a powerful podcast today. My guest, Dr. Donna Combs-Spight, she's amazing. I because I know in this season there's people that we have to help. I do understand when God called me back out of hiding after a 2.5-year hiatus, it was a reason for that. He didn't allow me to stay stuck in my cushy little corner because there was lives and souls and people that I needed to provide resources and other things to. And so it took some tugging, but I'm here, and I appreciate all the people that's coming with me along the way so that we can be a power piece, a help, some type of resource, whatever it is you need. I try to be a one-stop shop here at Erica Lynn Speaks Podcast. But most importantly, we want to make sure that you focus on, don't be stuck in that place that you're at, because God got a mission for you. There's something more to your life other than what you're going through right now. So get out of that place of being stuck and let's discover what's next for you, because trust me, it is more that's coming your way. And if you stay stuck, right, then you just got to keep replaying cycle over and over again. And you're like, why are all these people around me moving forward? Why are they going on when they like, why am I still here? But that's not what God intended for you. What he intended for you to do is learn some type of lesson while you're there, so that when you move on to your next place in life, you got an experience from it, so then you can move forward. And so we appreciate Dr. Ladonna Combs for providing insight on healing, the importance of safety measures that you're going to take, the necessities. Oh, that was listen, and you said a word earlier, you're going to have to teach me how to say it right. That's how I know Dr. Combs is educated. I love it. Y'all know I'm still here on Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. But anyway, the core message of this episode is clear. While the path of recovery is challenging, it is absolutely possible for you to move from surviving to thriving. So it's time for you to thrive and discover what's next in your life. Thank you. Join us next week on another wonderful episode of Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. And always remember, it only takes just one step beyond you. God bless you, and I'll see you guys next week.